Hey everybody, Steve Fretzen, and welcome to the Be That Lawyer podcast. As I usually say, I'm so thrilled that you're here. And guess what? That's true. I am thrilled you're here. This is the place to go for lawyers to become that lawyer, someone confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. And, our goal is to continue to drive incredible content that's helping you to run the practice of your dreams and to really get yourself positioned as an entrepreneur, whether you're in big law, solo, or something in between. We're going to continue to try to help you figure all that out one show at a time. I think we're sitting at like 580 or something, Megan. It's been an incredible run over about 6 years. How are things out in Long Beach?
Beautiful, perfect, sunny, like always.
You don't want to come to Chicago and hang out with us in the 30s?
No, thank you.
That's
No,
a
maybe
that's a
in
hard
summer.
pass.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I'll come out by you then. We'll call it even.
Yeah.
Um, there's I just love your quote of the show. It really is so true, and it's about Google, and so I think Google's an incredible business, and obviously we use it all the time, and we're moving a little towards ChatGPT versus Google, but okay. This is a saying: Google only loves you when everyone else loves you first. So welcome to the show, and tell us a little bit about why that quote.
Yeah, I really feel like we're moving away from the cheap tricks of SEO and all of those games that you play, and really Google and LLM AI is prioritizing what's really good, and what's really good is what people are gravitating towards and what actual people are liking. So you're going to get prioritized by Google if actual people are going to your website, staying on your website, all of that.
Yeah. And I think what it's saying is essentially, you have to be, like known, and you have to create content, and you have to be out there being your authentic self, and making sure people love you and they're giving you reviews or whatever it is that you're doing to kind of build your brand for Google to recognize that you are a brand.
Because it's all about trust. You have to be trustworthy for Google to be recommending you and for ChatGPT to be recommending you. All of these engines are looking at all of these different trust signals, which we'll probably dive more into today.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Trust signals. I'm making a note. Trust signals. All right, everybody. Well, Megan Hargroder is the founder and CEO of Legends Legal Marketing. Welcome to the show again, and tell us how you came to be. Not everybody gets into this space in the legal profession.
Yeah, it was weird. 15 years ago, I was community managing a co-working space, and this lawyer stopped at my desk and was like, "Hey, can you tell me how Facebook works?" And I was like, "Sure." And he's like, "Can I pay you?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And then another lawyer came by, and then another lawyer came by, and eventually I started getting invited to do these CLE events to teach lawyers about social media because 15 years ago they didn't know what it was and they were really afraid to use it. From there, I started my company just as a social media company, outsourced to web vendors, wasn't pleased with any of their work, decided I could do it better, started a web and a branding component for my business. And then now here we are. It's me and 20 other people on the team now.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. In why law? Like, I mean, I know lawyers came to you, but how? I mean, was that just something you just recognized early on that there was such a deep need?
Yeah, when I started, FindLaw was kind of the big name in the game, and everyone was working with FindLaw. And I thought it was so terrible that people were paying all of this money for this really subpar service. And I knew that I could do that much better. And at the time, I was also working for retail and restaurants and all of these other things where it's like, no matter what, you couldn't ever get it just right. And with
Yeah.
lawyers, I felt like there was a way to always get it right and always surpass expectations. And so, as an overachiever, I always like to be going above and beyond and surpassing expectations. And it was so easy to do that with lawyers because the bar was so low.
Yeah.
And if we're being honest, I also value personal time, and I love that my lawyers don't call me at night. They don't call on the weekends. They pay their bills. So lawyers made great clients. So at some point I did that 80-20 rule and decided that my lawyers were my best clients. And then I decided to go all in.
Yeah. And quick apology to our latest sponsor, FindLaw. No, I'm just kidding. But just putting that out there. You said something very early on in this conversation, and it's one of my favorite words, and I think it's one of the most important words in the legal profession, and also in maybe in any profession, but it's the word trust. And so, what actually makes a lawyer feel trustworthy to a potential client before they ever speak to them? Like, how are lawyers setting themselves up for that?
So trust is about connection, and you'll notice that the best clients often come from referrals, and that's because that person trusted the person who referred to you. It's a bit of a different game when someone's just coming to your website for the first time. So your website has to do the job. So those trust signals are um, essentially, it boils down to connection, but are you establishing empathy? Are you building authority? So are you showing people you care about them and their specific problem? Are you showing them that you're interested in solving that problem? And are you showing them that you have the expertise to do it? Like, have you already solved similar problems?
Yeah.
Those are the components that are going to initially make people trust you. The homepage is really where you tell people about them, right? You want to show off, your testimonials and all of this stuff too. But for people to care about you, they really need to see themselves reflected first, because at the end of the day, people care about themselves. And
Yeah.
people are coming here with a specific problem. So they have to see the problem, they have to see that you can solve it and that you care to solve it. And then that's kind of where your biography page comes into play as well, because
Yeah.
that on every lawyer website, if you're a solo or a small firm, the second most visited page is going to be your biography. So that's where people are going to check to see, who are you,
Yeah.
and is this someone that I would want to work with?
Yeah. I mean, I think the website and the LinkedIn profile are kind of the two main trust pages that need to be fully completed and accurate. I think I talk about how that those are your book covers. Like, nobody's going to want to read your book if your book cover sucks or if you don't have anything on your book cover. So I think those two things. But if we even take a step back further, Megan, I'm with my son. We're in Breckenridge, Colorado together last week for a few days, and we had an incredible time. And I said, you know what, Andrew, you pick the restaurant. And of course, he just picked one randomly that popped up and didn't do any research at all. And of course, I did. And I saw a bunch of warning signs that this place was going to be a disaster. And we walk in, and I think we just stood there behind a line of five other people for like 10 minutes before anyone even like showed up at the reception. And I just looked at him and I go, look, dude, I appreciate you, picking out the restaurant, but this is going to be a nightmare. And there was no trust that I had in this place. And so I think before, we even look at websites and LinkedIn's, I think, there's, how are you building trust online? Like, how are you building trust in your market space, in your practice area? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, reviews do play a huge role in that. And lawyers have gotten really good at scrubbing bad reviews. So you won't see a lot of law firms that are like 3 stars or less. Even if they have gotten those bad reviews, a lot of times they've gotten them removed. People are getting smart to that. So it's not just, did you get 4 stars? Did you get 5 stars? It's, what do the reviews say?
Yeah.
So people are starting to dive into those reviews and look at them and say, is this generic, like highly recommend, great lawyer? Or is this, I had this specific problem, this lawyer came in, answered all my calls, solved this, very specific. And the thing about that specificity is that people are reading that and they're using it to make their decisions. LLMs are reading that and using it to factor in the trust component of who they are recommending when people are chat GBTing for a lawyer as well.
Yeah. And there's lawyers listening that are more B2B than B2C. I would take what you just said, Megan. I would say, those are things you can put into your LinkedIn in the form of LinkedIn recommendations. You can put them on your LinkedIn profile in various places in the about section. But I just want to put out there that a lot of my clients and a lot of smart lawyers, and they're one and the same, by the way, are creating content and posting things online on LinkedIn and really demonstrating knowledge, expertise, authenticity, bringing up really interesting points in their practice areas or about their life and how that relates to the law, the practice of law. And I think that's also building trust because people are reading and seeing and getting to know who they are as a human being and as a professional, and that might be completely separate from the website. However, it's you're building an audience of people that trust you. Hey everybody, do you ever wonder why top executives and athletes are so successful? It's typically because they have a coach, someone that is looking at them from the outside to identify their gaps, identify their potential. That's what I do. I'm Steve Fretzin, and I'm here to help you be that lawyer. If you're interested in a free consultation, click the link below and we'll get together and we'll identify where you can make improvements to be that lawyer.
Similar. I think that that kind of lends itself to the authority component of building yourself as a thought leader in this area,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that also gets into the specificity of your practice and what you're doing. People are going to trust you more the more specific that field of knowledge is that you're talking about, making yourself a thought leader in this like one specific area of college student defense specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Um, for example, just very, very niche areas. If you are putting out all of this information about car accidents and estate planning and divorce and all of this stuff, I'm not following and I'm not associating you with any one thing.
Yeah.
So for those B2B people, it is really all about the specificity and the repeating the one core message, having everything kind of go back to that one place that says, I am the go-to lawyer for this one thing.
Yeah, I'm just making some notes that it's really about can you demonstrate, you're never going to say you're an expert, but can you demonstrate expertise and that you're an authority in a specific space where you can become known? And by the way, can you also do that in an authentic way where it captures people like you or the kinds of clients that you're really looking to work with? And I think what that's doing is it's setting yourself up to have a great not only practice but have a great life. There are people that come to me that are interested in my services, and they're just like me. In the sense that they get me, I get them. We're going to work really well together. And there's a bunch of, for example, egomaniacs and lawyers who think they know it all and whatever. Granted, they may not want any coach, but if they do hire a coach, it's probably not going to be me because I'm not going to resonate them because I'm not like that.
Same. I feel that way as well. I always I tell this to my clients and I apply it to myself is that you want to be turning the right people on and you want to be turning the wrong people off at
Mm,
all times. And the referral to organic and the B2B versus B2C, really there's a lot of overlap there because people hire people they trust.
mm-hmm.
People trust people they like. You can only like someone you feel like you know, right? So that's
Yeah,
why the
yeah.
referral conversions are so high. And so, in order to replicate that effect with online and organic marketing, you have to be willing to put yourself out there and be authentic in order to consistently be attracting clients. So, that's what's typically really uncomfortable, actually, for B2B referral based lawyers. They often don't want to share too much about themselves
Right.
because there's this idea that the serious level has to be really high because they're constantly impressing their peers. And impressing people and building trust are two completely different things. So you can be doing the same thing, but have a different approach. You can be creating these videos and publishing them on LinkedIn in a certain area, and you can be acting like a know it all. And that's not going to attract anyone versus you being real, you being informative, you using, everyone actually likes plain language, even other business owners. Everyone likes just plain language, real talk, maybe put a little humor in there because, life is so serious
Yeah.
and we could all use a break. And if you laugh at something for a minute, you're more likely to remember it.
Yeah. I mean, look, I like to have fun. I think I'm a fun guy and all that. I've got the Seinfeld isms behind me over my left shoulder, right? So if you're a Seinfeld fan, you're going to pick up right away. And regularly people comment, like if they're a Seinfeld fan or a Larry David fan, like they'll comment about it. And that's a silly, ridiculous, fun show and all the quotes and everything come with it. Doesn't mean I can't be serious about what I do for a living and how I help lawyers. And I think another one of my clients, shout out to Blake. He's an incredibly good and serious litigator. I mean, this guy is who you want in your corner. And behind him on a Zoom, he has Marvel characters. Like he's into Marvel. He's got a Wolverine. He's got all these different characters. Some people know who that is. Um, but I think what it does is it makes us human, and that's who other humans want to talk to.
Yeah, you still have to have a personality at the end of the day. And that is one of the places where my favorite part to come in first is a biography, right? Your biography lives on your website, it lives on your LinkedIn. It's if you do any kind of media, they ask you for a short form version of your
Yeah.
biography. And for most lawyers, that biography is what I call a professional obituary. It is literally a
Mm.
list of where you went to law school, where you clerked, what awards you got, and then I have a wife named Jennifer, two kids, and a dog,
Hmm.
and that is what most lawyer biographies are. And it's the biggest opportunity to build trust because it's so easy to instead tell a story, the story
Right.
that's actually there, the story that says why you're doing what you're doing, why you're helping who you help, and why you care. And a lot of times there's even more there, right? A lot of times you can get really vulnerable. And often during the interview process, my clients don't want to get too vulnerable.
Yeah.
They'll,
Yeah.
especially the criminal defense lawyers, they'll share, like, oh, I got in trouble with the law once. And I'm like, great, let's talk about it. And they're like, don't put this in there. Whatever you do, don't put this in there. And I'm like, what more could you do to make someone charged of a crime trust you than telling them you've been in their shoes before and you know exactly what they're going through? That is trust.
Mm.
That builds trust right there. It builds realness. And it's not even just I was in your shoes. It's like, I'm not judging you. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not separate from you. I'm the same as you. And that kind of goes back into your story is important, but people seeing themselves reflected in your story is important.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm gonna attach onto that there's an old saying that we brought up on the show, and it's been beat over to death 1,000 times. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. I would transition that to just saying, what's your why? Like, why do you do what you do? Why should we care about you if we don't understand you and understand why are you, a criminal lawyer? Like, what brought you into it? What's your story? Like, is it to make money and that's it? Or do you actually like to advocate for people? Right? Like my father, the late great Larry the lawyer, he was all about advocating for the little person, little guy, not little people. Um, and he said, and I think it was I interviewed him on my 200th show before he passed a few years ago, and he said whether it was a multi-million-dollar corporation or a one person, on welfare, he would treat them all exactly the same. Whether they didn't have any money or they had more money than God, he didn't care. He was going to give them the best representation and advocate for them with all the rigor he could. And you could sense it all around him, the integrity and the energy he brought to every case. And I think that's what lawyers need to do is they need to get out there and get real.
I love that. I also love the name Larry the lawyer. And what's funny? I got a really similar piece of advice from my Uncle Clifford before he passed away, is he did a very different type of business. But he always told me, um, don't turn down a job just because it's small. You never know when a small job could lead to a big job. And if you do a good job for someone, they're always going to talk good about you to someone else. So even if it was a small job for one person, it could end up being a big job for someone else. And I've always applied that to my work as well. I've worked with a lot of people who they're very small. I mean, I did the smallest project imaginable, or maybe I didn't even charge them. And later down the line, when they've grown their firm and they do have a marketing budget, they're coming back to me because I've already built the trust with them.
Yeah. It's interesting. We've covered a lot about what kind of trust we need to build to get the business. And then there's another whole level of the trust that we need to obtain and continue when we have the client. So you're working with people that are building brands and creating, marketing channels, right, and strategy. And as you're doing that, what do you have to keep giving and providing to them and demonstrating to them so that they continue not only to trust you for themselves, but to be in a position to refer you after the gig?
That's the fun part. And that's why I have such a high retention rate compared to other marketing agencies, is because there's not a template for this. And trust me, I love templates. I try to build them all the time. And there's always going to be a set of things that you do over and over again. But at the end of the day, you have to look at every law firm as a unique case. and they're unique to their location, their practice area, the individuals inside of it. So it's always about where are we going to go to take to the next level? Are we meeting our KPIs? Great. But our lawyers are not like, oh, we want to hit our KPIs. They expect the KPIs to be hit every month. And what else are we going to do? How are we going to get our name out in the community? How are we going to, do this next thing so that we're always thinking one step ahead of our competitors who are on our heels? So our clients are never outspending their competitors. I always like to say we're outsmarting the competitors by staying one step ahead. And part of that is marketing, but part of that is getting to know the people within the firm as well. Because, there's this other part of, you can get all the leads, but if you're not closing the leads, you're not getting the clients.
Yeah.
And so your entire intake process, onboarding process, and the actual attorney's process has a role to play in the success of the work that we do together. So I try to model that with my firm and with my team in terms of really clean onboarding, constant communication, but making sure it's not annoying, right? One of the big complaints lawyers have is my clients are always bothering me. And the way that I solve that is that I tell my clients what's going on so they don't have to ask me. I send them touch points on a weekly basis, and I give them access to my Slack dashboard so they can see my entire team's thread of what's going on with their account anytime they want to look. So my clients are never like, hey, what's going on? Hey, or did you do this? They can see.
Why haven't I talked to you in 6 months?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Our clients are more likely to not want to talk to us. They're just kind of like, yeah, do the thing. No
Right.
one's ever like, hey, I can't get in touch with you.
Yeah.
If you're a rainmaker and you're feeling like you're on an island, you don't have anyone to share your ideas with, solve problems with, you're going to want to check out my Rainmaker Roundtables. Click the link below and learn more.
Well, because they trust you, but they also know that you're highly responsive and being proactive, which is really what we want in a marketing agency. We don't want to have to wonder or, what's going on and where's my money going and is this doing anything? Are we getting anywhere? I mean, that's the biggest problem that I've seen in that and other spaces is people that are under delivering. There's a company I went into, and every time we went in there, this is doing a bathroom remodel that's kind of been noisy all day, but we had to go and pick out everything. And the person that was helping us just kind of said, yes, that's a great idea to everything we said. We don't know what we're doing. My wife's got a good eye, but that's about it. And then when it came to like she brought us back in to show us the design, to give us the quote, this is what, and then she had like 25% of it done. And I'm like, well, why didn't you call us and tell us not to come in? And my wife was kind of going after her. And then of course she hit a roadblock and she looked at me and I was like, all right, here we go. So she's calling in the heavy, if you will. And I think at one point I looked at her and I said, just so you know, you're underperforming. And I saw her lower lip quiver and I realized I'd gone too far. But then we ended up having to switch and go to someone else at the company to get this done because she was so incompetent. So that was a long way of saying we need to over deliver. We need to consider how are we building trust in the long term, not just for the project or the matter, but how are we developing it to stay as their best resource, their best advisor, their best person to refer. And many attorneys aren't doing maybe 20% of what they really should be doing to get to that level.
And a lot of that is just measuring, right? Saying like, what is the goal? What are the expectations? What are the KPIs here? And how are we hitting them? And that's something over the last few years that I've adjusted is even how are we showing success? What does success look like? And success means something different, a little different to everyone. But at the end of the day, for me and for my clients, what is success? Success is a specific number of clients coming in every month. So our entire reporting has been reframed around that is how many clients are you getting? What is your return on investment? This is what you're paying us. This is how much money we're bringing in every month. What does that return look like? Is that the return we agreed upon? Is that what's looking good for you? And all of the other metrics are supplementary. They're indicating the success or the failure of those things. But for the most part, that's the only number that matters.
Yeah. Well, I think results is the bottom line of everything. Did you say what you were going to do? Did you get the results? Is the client happy? and I guess where I'm going is like, let's pile on top of that. You know, are you referring your client? Are you helping your client? Are you advising them? Are you going above and beyond? Are you taking their calls even after the engagement is done? How are you adding more value to them? So it makes it very challenging for them to leave you, to refer anyone else, like you're going to be their go-to for the long term. And again, I think there's specific methodologies and systems that have to be put into place to ensure that type of thing happens. And that's just kind of I just want to put a fine point on it. But here's the big question I have for you, Megan. What's Megan's big mistake? You knew I was coming. You knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming. It's really, I'm honestly, it's so hard to drill down to one. I've made so many mistakes. I am constantly failing upward. But I would say one of my most colorful, large mistakes was in 2023. I thought my business was doing really well operationally without me. And I was like, I think I'm going to take a little break, and I think I'm going to go to Europe for a whole year.
Oh my God.
I was like, I can run my business remotely from Europe. I can work remote. I'm working remote now. This is fine. I can do this. Yes and no. Like, the business ran. Did it grow? No. Did a lot of things happen? Did someone quit? Did someone go on maternity leave unexpectedly? Like, a lot of things happened, like right the second that I left the country, and I'm over, like, I'm on a different time zone, and I'm to this year, like, I've sold my car, I've gotten rid of everything that I owned. And I was just over there in it, doing the best that I could, working, later at night. And so I would say that was probably a really big mistake, especially in 2023, when not only was my business not automated without me, it was in a crucial growth point that really required me to be present and be spending time with my referral sources and my connections and going to conferences and doing podcasts and all these things to get myself out there. And instead, I was hiding in Greece in the ruins, going on hikes. And so, was it a mistake? Yes. Do I regret it? No. The best time of my life.
I'll say, what's your sort of big mistake, right?
Yeah.
Because you got a year of Greece out of it, but again, I think your timing of where your business was at the time, right? Sounds like that might have, maybe a few years away from when you actually should have done it. But you know what, it happened, and it seems like you're fine and things are cooking. So,
there was definitely a renewal of enthusiasm the second I got back, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a moment, thank our wonderful sponsors, of course, lawyer.com, a phenomenal resource for lawyers to find other lawyers, Rankings.io, and PIMCon coming up in October. If you're in PI, you're going to want to check that out. And of course, if you're a rainmaker and a rainmaker and they're just on an island, just suffering in silence, you're going to want to talk to me about our Rainmaker Roundtables. This is for managing partners, high level equity partners that want to talk shop in a confidential environment. So feel free to email me at steve@fretson about that, or DM me on LinkedIn. People want to get in touch with you, Megan. They want to hear more about Legends Legal Marketing. Best digits for you and you guys.
Yeah, you can book with me directly on legendslegalmarketing.com. Email me at megan@legendslegalmarketing.com. Google my name. No one else has it, so I'm pretty easy to find.
All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your wisdom. I feel like you and I beat the heck out of trust and really talking about all the different levels from soup to nuts and cradle to grave and all that kind of stuff on why trust is so important. And, we can just do the matters and just go through the analytical side of, working with clients, or we can develop deep, trustful relationships. And I think that's what it's all about. And I'm hoping that you and I are starting one right now. So there you go.
I hope so.
How about that? All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us for the last 30. And again, hopefully you got a couple of good takeaways, as we always try to do on this show, in this case, particularly about trust. Again, the goal here, helping you to be that lawyer, confident, organized, and a skilled rainmaker. Take care, everybody. Be safe and well, and we will talk again soon.